My name is Tom Cannon. I'm the poet laureate of Oshkosh. Thank you for coming. It's an open mic for poetry, prose, any type of writing. And the way it works is we'll just try to keep it around 5 minutes. If you want to go longer, maybe trail off, let somebody else have a turn. Have people wanting more, and they come back to it, and so that everybody gets a turn. So you can stop your story in a certain spot, pick it up after a couple other people. It'll be a fun night. This is a warm, supportive group. Also tonight, it's kind of the book launch for this book, Fragments of Ourselves. Yes. And so that's what this open mics are about. It's what the Oshkosh Area Writers Club did. Those are the people that came together to do this booklet. It's a full book. There's lots of stories and poems and nonfiction in there. And it's about getting out, getting to your audience, and being heard. $5. Oh yeah. Ruth over there, $5. She's the person to talk to. And that's at cost. You know, the printing cost, shipping cost, it's $5. Okay, I just wanted, so thank you for coming. Thank you to New Moon for hosting us. Thank you to the servers for making us as you can see, I got a couple cameras going. Hopefully you're okay. Just let me know if you don't want to be recorded. Let's start off with a poem. Last Monday, the Cocoa Coffee Shop did an open mic with the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets. And that's like, just Google Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets, go, that's a nice open mic. It was a great time. James was there. He's going to be reading tonight. At the end of the night, we came together. We were looking at the art on the walls. Like, we have wonderful art here tonight. And so we said, let's write a poem from it. Oh, there we go. You got yours?
No, I'm still working on it.
Okay. So I'm still working on mine, but I'm going to share it anyway. Okay, so it's about a boy, a scrawny boy, taking off his batter's helmet. What do you see when you think of that kid that plays ball? Perhaps not the scrawny kid, the one trying to give it their all. We want meritocracy, and I'm all for that, but shouldn't everybody get a turn at bat? Child is more than a prep to be an adult, to join in being American like it's a cult. Why not provide for all children that sly smile of belonging, of celebrating with style? The games of childhood is not for the elite. If you think back, it was the same for the games played on the street. It's not to show off, and it's not to teach them that feeling of defeat. The important thing is the heart within every effort. Thank you. Are you ready? Oh, that reminds me, it was suggested last time that we go in order, like the tallest people go, and then we just slowly put the microphone down. But you're ready, we'll give it a shot.
So I had to say one thing before I start here. I lost my mom last November. Today would have been her birthday. So she's up there listening, so I had to say something because we're going to be on YouTube. My sister's going to be watching. All right, so I do a couple of these. I went to Spring Green this Monday, which for me in Waupaca was a 2-hour drive, and I put this together in the car, and it's apropos called Drive. Painted lines, green highway signs, reflection stripes and brush-colored brush, velvety violet-gray asphalt on the ground, gravelly grooved concrete slush, beautiful traction. And I look around hard on believing about the sun's beating, the air streaming, and the sound of the tires and motors screaming. How the road can fill up the hollow inside, ropes between here, there, and everywhere, stifling my running high. deflating my polka dot parachute, generally pacifying my jitterbuggy mind. So I don't give a shit. So I don't care about any of it. Is it mental masturbation, thought process subjugation, subjective signals and information, distraction, reaction, extrasensory perception? Oh, I'm sorry. Dumbed down and I frowned because I lost my place. Lost the why I'm in this fucking race. And then, was it even a race in the first place, or just monkey shines all the time? Or is it all in my mind? Damn. Energy beaming, batshit country, rap riddle, visual hallucination, audible paradiddle, telepathy steaming along, fortune teller programming, rewiring, wrong, code flaw, ball crystal mystic, some source sending misery, poison, program, psyche, energy algorithm, pissing on me, duality, interchange, one way a captive, one way free. Most days neither switchback even feels like me. I shake my head, ears ringing in dread, tears in my eyes, blood pressure rise, and I tell myself to focus on the road ahead and just fucking drive. I can't help but shaking no matter what. This is something else that's needed. This way. Hang on one second. This probably help me. Alright, this is something else new. It's called media disease. Streams of contrast, seeing one pink, one green. Picture tubing process, dropping clips of future in between. Broadcast, streaming belief, digital manipulation, masquerading complication, media disease. I see a nation in ruin when media booms. Paparazzi conundrum, wetting their pants, coming too soon. Embarrassed, histrionic static, sonic boom, panicked, all in a chair at home watching blowhard fanatics. Segregated there alone, indirectly regulated, middling mediation, implicated, infuriated, mimicking a marionette malady, consternated, blinded by fallacy, on the end of a string from those creating the fight in the first place. Still nothing is seen. The Times, the Post, fucking meme life. At the most, it's art imitating strife. No original thought. No razor-sharp edge on their copycat knife. Overcooked and fried, at least since Dr. Hunter died. Yeah. Now we doom stroll. Falling in a hole with a hole. Pitfall, barrel roll. Crashing and burning, skewed lines, blurry vision, disorderly learning, brain worm, mind mold, thought might, stale, common, unoriginal, trite. Noisy left. Deafening right, political candidates locked in a fight, and we're told we get to pick the lesser of two evils? Man, I get the feeling something's not right.
Thank you, James. There's a lesson in you gotta use the right word, the word that has to fit. Sometimes it's not pretty. Yeah, and James he has a couple books for sale. If you want to stop by, pick them out if you like his poetry. I got to put on these things so people will listen to me read my poems. You know, that's why he's speaking. He's going all over Wisconsin and doing his performances. All right, the next up is Jeffrey McAndrew. Jeffrey McAndrew's from Fond du Lac. He's a North Fond du Lac poet laureate.
So I want to start off by just doing a quick promotion here. Story Fair in Fond du Lac, it's sort of our first unofficial writers conference. It's a one-day, it's free to the public. So if you want more information on it, it's called Story Fair. It's October 7th from 10 to 3. We have 5 great writers there and children's stories for the family. So it's going to be a great event. So if you want more information, come see me. And it was really an honor to be named the Poet Laureate for North Fond du Lac, our very first Poet Laureate. And a lot of the ideas for the North Fond du Lac Poet Laureate came from Tom Cannon, and then he was one of my motivators for that too, so it was to Tom. All right.
Change your lives.
Okay, so I'm going to read a few, and 2 or 3 of them are going to be about our family health crisis. And sometimes family life events can spur this creativity, and I certainly felt the muse. My son Stefan has special needs, and he was hospitalized for about 2 months between late April and late July. So that brought out some creativity. This first poem I'm going to read to you is about our son Ryan, our older son Ryan, who volunteered to stay overnight with his brother the first night because mom and dad were extremely pushed. It's called Our Hearts. It warmed our hearts when you stayed with your brother in this time of need. It touched our hearts to see your heart, full of love and pride and generosity. It warmed our hearts that you let us rest while you held your brother's hand. It touched our hearts to see the real kindness of you, loving, caring, and supportive. There was never a doubt. We knew it all along. I'm going to find a couple more here. This is now another really interesting thing that came up during a very tough time for our family is that I happened to be doing a podcast. This was about 2 weeks before Stefan's hospitalization and the crisis. I had Frank Watkinson on the show. He's about 75 years old. He plays guitar, and he has 588,000 followers on YouTube from England. And I was amazed that he actually came on my podcast. And so I thought I'd throw him some poetry after the podcast. He came up with a song called Pretty Eyes about 2 days later. And since then I've written 7 songs for him. And again, the muse was at work. I'll do Pretty Eyes, and I'm going to do 2 more about Stefan's situation. This is the first song that Frank actually put to music. Pretty eyes so deep and blue, everywhere I see you. Pretty eyes so deep and blue, they touch me, it's true. Pretty eyes alone at night, clear my mind, clear my sight. Pretty eyes so deep and blue, I'm in love with you, it's true. Pretty eyes against the wind, here you come around again. Pretty eyes so deep and blue, I'm in love with you, it's true. Don't waste my days and nights looking for answers, looking for answers. Pretty eyes so deep, so near, I have no fear. Pretty eyes so deep and blue, everywhere I see you. They touch me, it's true. They touch me, it's true. Thank you. This is another poem that I wrote about when my son Stefan was in the hospital, in the ICU, and I was holding his hand. It's called Hold Your Hand. When you're crying out, when life makes no sense, I hold your hand. When the pain hits too hard, when life plays too hard, I hold your hand. Why does it hurt, Dad? I continue to hold your hand. When you don't understand, when it's comfort you demand, I hold your hand. I hold your hand. I hold your hand to tell you I unconditionally love and understand. When you feel lost and lonely and scared, I hold your hand. I hold your hand. I will be there to tell you it's okay. I hold your hand. I hold your hand. Thank you. And my last poem here, again about Stefan. And this was at a time when we thought we might have lost him. Came pretty close. It's called It's You, which Frank, he put the music for me too. It's called It's You. We will find the answer for you sometime. We will find the answer. It's gray sometimes. Don't lose hope, we're just about there. Don't lose your faith, cave into despair. You are the light in our lives, and we hold you tighter still. You lift us up with your courage and your amazing will, wondering what the day will bring. Someday our hearts will sing. It's you, our tears are streaming for. A parent's love can certainly not be more. When you're feeling blue, I hope this song comes right straight through. It's you, it's you, it's you. And when you're back home with your toys and your swing, you'll be able to dream and do everything. You'll find such joy and such peace abounds. Mom and Dad's tears will see the real love you found. That's called It's You. So, my point is, in tragic situations, and by the way, Stefan's doing much better now. He's gained about 20 pounds in the last month, and he's coming out of it, but it was very scary for a while. But sometimes the most tragic times can bring creativity, and poetry can help you through that. So that's my message to you. Oh, the podcast, yes. Well, it's available if you do a Google search for Poets Have Something to Say, and you'll find the podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple, and so that's exciting. Patrick McCorkle is going to be a guest in a couple months, so look forward to that too. All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, great meeting.
Very well said, Jeffrey. And the only thing I can add to that is poetry, during those times like that, can kind of pull out thought. You're just a puddle of thoughts. And it can help you really kind of organize it and pull some things that's bothering you that you don't even know about, and maybe pull out a little bit of hope. So thank you for sharing. Okay, the next up is somebody who is in this book. I arranged the book because I kind of have control issues, I guess. And at the end, Patrick's poem or little piece is the last part because it's about writing, inspiring. But for a long time, it was Bernie's poem that I wanted at the end because it was a good poem, great message. And Bernie, why don't you come up and read now, please?
My glasses. Catch the base. We the people who didn't have. Sorry.
Get closer and louder, please.
I'm trying to.
We the people who didn't have the ability to succeed, we are shoved aside to stand on our own. Our place in society is insignificant to those that play an essential role in life that sustain stability and prosperity. Somehow our importance is eluded by the greatness of others. We are silenced, never heard, never recognized, as we never had the chance to put ourselves out there. Overshadowed by the self-righteous, overwhelmed with the complexities of social standing, underestimated, underappreciated, not being knowledgeable enough to participate in this interlude of existence. Lacking in self-assurance, inability to engage others, intelligence is minimized by the apparent greatness of those who implement the illusion that somehow the earth in all of its abundance is solely created for themselves. Opinionated without opinion, thought-provoking without any constructive scrutiny, sentimental with no sentiment, charismatic without enthusiasm, which could spark any interest or acknowledgement. We the people, we stand up for the people, the ones who are shoved aside. We are not alone.
Next coming to the microphone is Tom. Tom's been to, I think, every one of these open mics, so welcome, Tom. Thank you.
Good evening, fellow poetry lovers. This first poem deals with climate change. It's called They Shoot Humans in Devils, don't they? All Father Odin on his walrus-tusked throne, situated in the great banquet hall of Valhalla, soaked in heavenly mead, decides to yodel. The mighty trilling that creates vast magic. On cue, big, frozen, Porcupine Lake erupts into a terrific upsurge of countless tons of ice and frigid water. Thor, the immortal warrior, peering down from the Rainbow Bridge, hurls his special effects hammer down. When the occulted blunt weapon strikes, out of the immense vortex emerges the newly made ice giant, Ingmar. Eagle-domed-headed, blue icicle bearded, snowstorm blowing eyes, avalanche lipped, and permanently frosted skin. Ingmar shivered into 40-degree below zero animation. Awakened thus, the thunder-tired stomped a black ice foot, then took his first crack and crunch step southwards. The massive crack with the mammoth crunches proceeded as Ingmar followed the goose flock honking sunwards. At last 30 miles north of Chattanooga, Ingmar sadly succumbed to the sweet, soft, and soothing breezes. Ingmar's marathon ice frame melts away with dolorous dribbles. When the unhappy mist that was Ingmar, the ice giant whisked away, what was left was a humble puddle, a small puddle, with porcupine quills, along with a white baseball cap bearing the MAGA script, "Make Antarctica Glacial Again." This next one is a gothic fantasy. It's called The House That Dripped Uric Acid. A house is an entity, almost humanoid. The steps are teeth, the door, its mouth, the window, its eyes, the walls, its skin, the floor, its bone, the basement, its stomach, the attic, its brain, the chimney, its soul. Welcome, come on in. As you enter the oral foyer, a red rug with microfiber taste buds arches up and then begins to undulate inexorably towards you. You stand transfixed as a yellow traffic sign. Home, sweet home, never tasted this good. And the last one, it deals with animal abuse. No puppies are killed at the end though. Many an easy flake makes a downy sweep. After a frantic phone call from the Poetry Quarterly, thanks to the thermal imaging, I found and followed the bloody tracks of the old bard Robert Frost deep into some lovely woods. I found him with a crossbow arrow in his back, shot by an angry and territorially challenged neighbor nearby. Mr. Frost had a long history of knocking down private walls while trespassing. I interned him at the fork of the road, with his arms spread out both ways. Feeling a fresh trickle of snow, I felt I needed a shower, a vodka gimlet, and some talking bubblehead news when I felt a cold, wet nose at my back. I turned to meet a little brown horse hitched to a cumbrous sleigh. The horse's ribs were sticking out, and his back sagged like a trash day sofa. "Buddy, I'm going to see you rolling in clover," I said up front. "Promises, promises," he seemed to mutter. Straining to start on his long hour's pull to the next Motel 6, the little brown horse pawed the white turf as I sat down on a flannel blanket and looked unhappily on a whipped side. Warm.
As tomorrow is the first day of fall, I wanted to get a season poem in. Quick one. Season. Shimmering in summer dresses, focused on future husbands, my girls slipped their sandals on and wandered away to create gardens, carrying the music on sunburned shoulders. The boys are gone too, tossed into the wind, carried next door and planted. Our cars parked on the grass rusted into mortgages. Perhaps we will get to an age where we will peer over the fences as soft blades tickle our toes. Next up is Susan. Ready? Hey, start.
I got it. I can manage.
Here, let's get a
I did stage crew for a long
let's
time.
get a mic too.
So how's that, folks? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! So I have two to read tonight out of the book. I have more than that in the book, but you'll have to buy a copy to find out. $5. $5, people. It's a good investment. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. So this first one, I wrote for my mom. She passed in 2011, and I was thinking about her maybe a year ago, and I decided it was time that I wrote a poem on her behalf. This is called Anne, 1935 to 2011. Only the dimmest memory remains in these aged, arthritic fingers of quicksilver needle trailing liquid streams of violet, vermilion, cobalt, verdigris through fields of night-hued cloth. Movements once sure as the rising sun, steady as spring rain on tin-clad roof, deft as flame nibbling at the heart of split oak, now reduced to feeble twitches. Each breath drawn more gently than the last, released with feathered whisper, then an agony of patience before the next inhalation. And still, her fingers grasp at the art which had fed her soul for decades. I lay a hank of rainbow across her nearest palm, soft cotton floss glowing with the promise of the next life, where she will weave symphonies of surprise with the light of all. No longer limited to mortal's meager palette of amethyst, ruby, sapphire, emerald, and gold. One last twitch to grasp at the familiar. One last inhalation of all she has ever known. Released with a sigh, the silver hummingbird within bursts free, soaring beyond the beloved shell into the bliss of forever meeting. And I'll match you season for season, but my season's a little later, please. I hope God, please, later, much later, many months. So this one is called The Siren Song of the Snow Shoveler. In certain snowy lands, as the light of dawn glows pink, one is serenaded by the cheerful greeting of the shovel scraping across driveway and sidewalk, letting neighbors know the storm has passed for now. Unscented silence, broken scratch goes the shovel a grunt, and fluffy water heads skyward, adding to the thigh-high drifts away from footpath and drive. First one, then another, then 5 or 6 shovels sing their raggedy, jaggedy songs, call and response from opposite sides of yet unplowed streets. Scratch and pause. Speed and duration regulated by the strength and endurance of the shoveler and the density of the snow. In the distance, one upstart snowblower growls its presence, a basso continuo underlining the tenor chorus. Noses and earses and toeses pinken in the crisp, cold air. Cheeks bloom winter roses as sweat builds beneath layers of flannel and sweatshirt, coat and scarf, mittens and hat. Sometimes the wind kicks up and a toss in one direction, snow showers on a sudden gust, splashing into the face of the unsuspecting singer of the siren song of the snow shovel.
Okay, well, as long as I actually have a poem about a shovel even later in the season. And I once wrote a book, I didn't publish or anything. I don't think it's going to get published, Poems of the Pessimist. And this here's one. Okay, so here, the snow retreats, leaving the grime. The shovel, as unworked as a former child actor, begs to be stored away. But I dare not put order, stow the snowblower. Flurries will sneak attack. One can blanket the muddy ruts so someone twists an ankle. So next up is Bailey. Come on up, Bailey. Bailey has a couple books up.
I really like microphones, so tell me if I'm too loud. Always good. So I am Bailey R. Hansen. I do have a book series, the third book that's written with the co-authors, coming out October 1st, which is super exciting. It's awesome. This one is not appropriate for all audiences in the public venue, so we're going to read one of my stories from the anthology today. And this is How to Dispose of an Apocalypse Candle. Most evil objects must be destroyed by fire. Air can scatter, earth can protect, and water can dissolve if you give it a couple of centuries. But fire is the most thorough and reliable method. This is particularly unfortunate when your evil object is a candle. The tower chamber that held the apocalypse candle smelled of hydrangeas and wood smoke, in spite of the fact that nothing had been on fire in that room for the 23 years of the candle's residence. Even the light was provided not by torches, but by phosphorescent, fire-suppressant moss, specially imported from the Dwarven lands. When one had an artifact of ancient evil that was activated by burning, you tended to be particularly careful about fire hazards. Two junior mages, tasked as the last guards of the apocalypse candle, stared at it nervously. The clash of swords on shields, shouts and screams of soldiers, and the occasional boom of a magical explosion came through the walls of the tower. The demon warlord, seeking an efficient and final way to break the barriers between the human and demon worlds, had come to the city. For the last day, he and his forces had been working through every one of the city's defenses. "Can't we just throw it in the volcano?" George asked at last. Lil gave him a look that could crack a diamond. "What part of candle did you not understand? Any part of this lights on fire, and we get portals opening to the netherworld." The apocalypse candle didn't look like much. A squat, pale green candle, about the size of a man's fist, encased in a blackened glass container, rested on a podium made of the same plain stone as the tower's walls. It didn't even smell like evil, at least not the way some cursed artifacts did. It smelled like a candle and hydrangeas, and not much else. George blew out of breath. "So, take the wick out?" "No," Lil said. "That just makes it two separate pieces, both of which can unleash the hordes of hell. Igar the Foolish tried cutting down the wick in 1875, and look what happened again." What did happen to him?" George asked. "Don't think I've had that class yet." "Presumably demons happened to him, but no one's sure." Lil gestured toward her face. "They only found his nose." George had multiple follow-up questions, but the conversation halted when Mortimer Graves, head of the city's mage school, swept into the room. "This conversation has already been tedious," he intoned, "but I insist it must also be brief. The demon warlord is at the foot of the tower and will be here shortly. Do we have a solution to this conundrum?" George stepped forward. "We will lay down our lives to defend the candle and the world." If Lil's look had cracked diamonds, Mortimer's could have struck a spark from one, and likely cause the apocalypse in the process. The warlord has a cadre of 30 mages currently taking our city by storm. The faculty of our school and several of the top mages in the skilled city guild have already thrown their might against him and been pushed back. We three won't be the deciding factor in this conflict. If the warlord gets as far as this chamber, I intend to give him the candle and take my chances with the demons. Do either of you have another option? Yes, Lil said. I have something I've been working on. Mortimer frowned. It will keep the warlord from retrieving the apocalypse candle? Today? Yes. I can't believe you had a plan and didn't tell me. What kind of spell is it? George asked. Lil bit her lip. It's better if I don't tell you. What do you need for the casting of this spell? Mortimer asked. Some chalk, one of those tags you use for specimens, and silence so I can concentrate. George produced chalk from the pocket of his robe and offered it to her, while Mortimer left. He returned with a tag hanging from a bit of twine. Lil scribbled something on the tag with the chalk before looping the string around the glass container of the candle. She stepped back, then drew a circle on the floor around the candle's podium. As soon as she completed the circle, the room started humming, loud enough to drown out the sounds of battle. When she began to chant, the humming intensified. Working magic on an artifact like the Apocalypse Candle is difficult. They resist transportation spells, resent transformations, and absolutely refuse destruction. Even the smallest cleaning or locating spell generally takes twice the effort for less than half the usual success rate. By the time Lil reached the last words of her chant, recognizable by how the humming had taken on an almost angry tone, she was sweaty and visibly shaky. She shouted the last incomprehensible word, clapped her hands over her head, and the explosive force pushed out from the podium, knocked her, George, and Mortimer off their feet. When they could stand again, there were drifts of shredded paper and fragrant hydrangea petals all over the floor, and the Apocalypse Candle was gone. Where did it go? George asked, throwing Lil's arm over his shoulder when she stumbled. I can't tell you, Lil gasped, but far away from here. Let us go now, Mortimer said. Our duty, such as we are able to do, has been fulfilled. When the three mages left, they bolted the tower door behind them. Later that day, when the warlord burst into the circular chamber that had once held the Apocalypse Candle, he found it empty of his prize. He screamed in such rage that everything in the room burst into flames, from the paper and petals on the floor, to the glowing moss on the walls, to the faint outline of a chalk circle on the stones. He burned the tower down to the ground, but no additional demons were summoned. The city and the world remained intact. The candle appeared, unannounced, in one of the back shelves of Joy's Jewels, an antique parlor in a city just down the river. The candle was sandwiched between a monkey skull carved from limestone and a third edition of the memoir of Igor the Foolish, signed by his secretary, the only person to survive all his many experiments into cursed objects. The price tag, a paper tag written in chalk, attached with a bit of twine, said 3 crowns, which was honestly a bit pricey for a half-burnt candle in a bustling city. The only person to notice the candle's presence was Miss Joy herself, the shop owner. She wasn't sure where it came from. She didn't remember the inventory coming in, but she rather liked the candle's hydrangea perfume, so why worry about it? And there the Apocalypse Candle remains to this day, unburnt, while the warlord searches every magical school and military stronghold from here until the sea, looking for something far more impressive than a candle priced at 3 crowns.
All right, can you hear me? All right. So obviously, poems can bring us a lot of comfort, give us another perspective, so I'll try to make this short. This is Lighthouses by Whitney Hansen from her book called Home. They told me my job description, but I think I've got it wrong. They said I was supposed to man the lighthouse and save lost ships from going down. But every time I saw the ships, I forgot about the light. I dove headfirst into the sea and swam to save their life. I drowned us both in the process. The ships never reached the shore. I ended up helping less when I meant to be helping more. I think when they told me to save people with my light, I mistook their words and tried to save people with my life. I know I should have turned on the light. I know I should have taken their advice, but I don't know what love is if it is not sacrifice. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Gassett from Appleton. I just want to, this is my first time being here. And what a great event this is. Every community should have an opportunity like this for poetry and expression, so way to go, Tom. Good on you. And just echo what Tom said, I'm from Appleton. Every second Monday of the month at a Coca Coffee downtown Appleton, there's a poetry reading there, Poetry Unlocked. A couple featured readers usually, and then an open mic, so come share your work. December and through the winter, it'll be virtual on Zoom, so you can do that without even having to drive. All right, so I'm just going to read one poem. An elegy for the F word. O F. You once great titan of words, what have we done to you? Your death, by a million cuts of the tongue, is almost complete. Once you were a word of power, a great and mighty frightful tower of a word for the curse to unleash their worst venom upon the world. A word for the good and upright too, to shock the conscience when lesser words wouldn't do, when ladies should faint, when men should wince. When the worst of the world needed voicing, you were our worst word of choice. But we, vainly taking your name every day, till it's just another thing we say, stole your power, we dulled your blade. You are a sword we use as a spade. You are dulled now, so dull, so boring today. On playgrounds, all around towns, when dragons need slaying, our scabbards are empty. We've nothing to say. So farewell, F, farewell. Now, please come this way. Let me introduce you to your new crew. Please meet, literally, awesome and
I haven't written anything in a while.
We have your name.
I'm Edith. I'm also from Appleton. I work at a Coca, so come visit us. But this is a poem that I really love, probably one of my favorites right now, by the Ramirez. Ever since I found out that earthworms have taste buds all over the delicate pink strings of their bodies, I pause, dropping apple peels into the compost bin. Imagine the dark, writhing ecstasy, the sweetness of apple permeating their pores. I offer beets and parsley, avocado and melon, the feathery tops of carrots. I'd always thought there's a menial life, eyeless and hidden, almost vulgar, though now, it seems, they bear a pleasure so sublime, so decadent, I want to contribute however I can, forgetting a moment, my place on the menu.
I gotta say one thing. I'm one of the ones that had a story in here in the first book, and this is the same characters, so that's okay. Where are we? Sheila asked. She looked at Roman laying next to her in the sleeping bag on the van floor. He shrugged. Some world colder than yesterday. The van windows are all fogged up. Looks like dawn is coming. A lot colder, Sheila said. as she slid out of her sleeping bag and pulled on the least dirty of the clothes she could reach. "I'll go out," Roman said. Sheila poured some water into her rag. "Come here, I'll get the dragon blood off your face." She wiped at the dried green streaks. "Your braids didn't pick up any leaves or stuff. If you keep your coat buttoned, you'll be fine. It's black. You'll blend it in any time or place." She gulped a quick sip of water from a glass Pepsi bottle. "I'll cover you." She dropped a silver bolt into the crossbow. Roman crouched low with his knife at the ready as he slid the side door of the van open. "We're parked on the side of a blacktop parking lot. That's a good sign." Sheila glanced at a cluster of houses. "It's autumn and it seems fairly safe. I'll look around. You stay here." Roman slipped the knife into his boot and slid the door shut. Sheila remembered the party where she'd first met Roman. In 1965, after everyone had had a few joints, Mike had said, "Why don't we all share a secret?" She had been thrilled at the thought of hearing secrets, and had been disappointed. Mike admitted he'd wet the bed when he was a kid, which wasn't a secret. Nor was the fact that Joni and Michael were doing it a secret, and nobody cared what George thought he saw when he took LSD the last time. "I teleport in my sleep." That was what Roman had said. At first, she thought it was a drug-induced brag. After all, he'd been in high school for the last month, and if you could teleport, why would you be in high school in Cleveland? She had challenged him about it. He'd shrugged. "When I sleep in a building, I don't leave it. I can't tell where I'd end up. My father did it too. One day he stayed too late at work, fell asleep in the car in our driveway. My mom and I never saw him or the car again, but he left me a book of helpful hints." They had outfitted the van a month after his mother died and hit the road instead of graduating high school. She checked the calendar on the wall. It had been 2 months. They'd been in 20 different worlds. She had her socks and coat on when she heard a knock on the van. She grabbed the crossbow and aimed it at the door. "Who's there?" "Just me, lover." She laid down the crossbow and helped him in. "So what's out there?" "We're not the only ones sleeping here. There's some truck full of stuff and the driver's sleeping in it. There's also a Taco Bell. And that's important. Hand me my dad's book." She found her hairbrush and began to work the leaves and debris from her hair as he read. "Okay, I have to try and see some money, and then we can make the next step happen." He slid the door slightly ajar and pulled the binoculars out from under the seat. He's holding up a sign. It says, "Help pay for my weed." Sheila grinned. "I think I like this world." Norman grinned back. "I saw the money. The bills look like ours." He slid the van door shut and climbed into the driver's seat with his father's book in his lap. Sheila climbed in next to her with her guitar in her lap. She opened the glove box and handed Roman his wallet. She glanced at the book. There was a chart with pictures and lines, but nothing looked familiar. They pulled into the drive-thru at Taco Bell. He glanced at the menu board. "What do you want?" "I think we can afford $20. Sheila shrugged. "You order. I trust you." Roman pulled up to the window. "We'll take 8 spicy potato soft tacos and the largest mango freeze you got." Then he paused. "What about taco pizza?" He handed a battered 20 through the window. The employee dropped the change in his hand. "Yeah, it left again. Supply chain problems, Corona, you know. You need any hot sauce?" Roman shook his head. "Food's the second window." Roman took the bag and drink and drove to a spot at the back of the lot. Sheila took the cup and sipped. "This is great. I've never had anything like this." Roman unwrapped a taco and ate it with one hand while he ran his finger down the chart in his book. "It doesn't taste like a Mexican place in Cleveland," Sheila said. He grinned at her. "Taco Bell isn't Mexican." "But I've figured it all out." Sheila reached for a second taco. "What's a Mexican pizza?" "My dad figured it out. It's the key to different worlds, whether it's here but rare, unavailable, or nobody's heard of it. Plus, the receipts tell you so much." Roman soothed the receipt in his leg and pointed to the chart. "Oshkosh, Wisconsin, October 16th, 2022. He nodded. "And it's after COVID. There's still gasoline and no nuclear war. It's a pretty good place." He unwrapped another taco. "So this taco pizza, what does it taste like?" Roman shrugged. "I've never been to a world that had it. I think that's the utopia. But he grinned. How about we head to Madison and see if we can make some money with music? Maybe we'll get enough money to get a hotel. Sheila shrugged. Or maybe we'll only get enough to feed the two of us. And tomorrow we'll wake up in some strange new world. Either way, I've got you, and that's enough.
So my name is Patrick. Like to say I was born and raised in the 54901, in about 2-mile radius. I've spent a lot of my time here. So when I contributed to this, when I began with the Writers Club a few years ago, it helped me with my writing quite a bit. I like to read a piece that was inspired. It was inspired by my maternal grandfather who passed away a few years ago and really motivated me to start writing, take it very seriously. So the title is Do Not Ever Stop Writing. I finished reading from the rough draft of my novel and looked up. Next to me, my bedridden grandfather frowned and willed his facial muscles to form a simple sentence. Do not ever stop writing. I didn't want to accept what was happening. I couldn't. The man I had known for over 3 decades was transformed by copious amounts of medicine and pain. The loquacious scholar, avid bike rider, and survivor of the Great Depression and World War II was losing this battle in his hospice room. His energy was almost exhausted. He was forced to listen rather than speak. Soon, he would no longer be able to listen. I'm not sure how long it took me to respond as I grappled with the gravity of his request and his suffering. Absolutely, Gramps. I promise you. He gave a weak smile, then grimaced. Each day I convinced myself that he would recover. Nothing else had stopped him before. Why would anything now? Each day my memories with him came rushing back. As a young child, I essentially lived at my grandmother's house. On some of my visits, my grandfather waited in the den, holding his newest VCR cassette of cable TV recordings. He let me do the honor of sliding it into the old TV. I watched Rugrats or Angry Beavers with delight, he and my grandmother delighting in my reactions. Later, he chased me on my big wheel across the block, and then my grandma would prepare supper. The 3 of us would eat from the great big dining room table, the stained glass windows providing a calming atmosphere. Through my teenage years and adolescence, my mother, sister, Gramps, and I had countless lunches and dinners at Mike's Supper Club in Oshkosh. I savored the 4-piece roasted chicken or the 1-pound Spartan burger as I listened to him and my mother talk about the 60s and 70s, almost removed to the late 90s and 2000s as my childhood is to the present. He and I would walk down the aisles of Target or Walmart, barely able to contain my excitement. I would scan the glass case of video games for a reward for my grades. Or after a meal, he would pull a package from his car, a game awaiting us inside, out guaranteeing adventures. We had many birthday parties and celebrations at Shakey's, the delicious pizza filling stomachs and arcade games lighting up the walls with an array of colors. Every time my sister and I asked, he reached for his wallet buying more tokens. Together, all of us played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Simpson games over and over and over. He and I would ride our bikes through Menominee Park during lazy summers and calm weekends. Even in his 80s, he rode 15-plus miles a day. We stopped and fed the geese as I greedily helped myself to his bag of sugary treats. Starting in high school, I would saunter over to his apartment, spending hours and hours talking about a variety of topics, ranging from the Green Bay Packers to Shakespeare to the Super Mario Brothers. We had intense political debates that I believe were of higher quality than what you find on TV or the internet. Then I perused his library for the next great read. But that was what used to be. A new reality had arrived. On my grandfather's final night, my mother didn't leave his sight, as dutiful of a daughter as one could ask for. She asked me and my sister to come as soon as we could. Numb, I stood in my driveway, ignoring the rain. Deep down, I knew he wasn't long for this world, but I still held out hope. Fittingly, there was a train on my way to the hospice center. I worried and fretted that he'd be asleep, my way of explaining his condition when I arrived. As fate would have it, he held on so my sister and I could say goodbye. I'll never forget the bike rides, the shaky strips, the video games, everything. Somehow, I pushed down the sobs. I caressed his hand as I whispered. I felt I didn't do those magical memories justice. He disagreed. Giving one last peaceful smile, unable to communicate further, he passed away, my hand still caressing his. 4 years later, my grandfather's death has become real, although sometimes I think I'll see him riding his bike around my neighborhood, or we'll make plans to grab a meal at Mike's. Daily, I think about his plea. It was the last complete sentence I heard him utter. For years, I danced and flirted with the written word. Inspired by J.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling, and others, I planned to write my own epic. Paralyzed by perfectionism, I kept delaying my start. The excuses were endless. I'm not ready. I need to hone my craft. I need to read more. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Tomorrow, or next week, or next month was always better than now. After my grandfather passed, I realized how precious time is and how thin these excuses were. He lived to be 96 and wanted to accomplish more. We don't have forever. I don't have forever. So I devoted myself to creating something that remains incomplete to this day. However, I'm infinitely further from where I started. I wish I could walk over to his place and show him my latest work. I'd hear his mumbling and watch him adjust his glasses as he underlined and corrected. Then we would discuss politics, literature, and sports over dinner. The hours would fly by. Since I can't, I'll do the next best thing. Until I physically and mentally cannot, I will write. For him, for myself, for my future readers. I wish I would have started sooner, but the best time to start was yesterday. But the next best time is now. And I shall see all the moments I can. Let me rephrase my grandfather's words to you, reader. Do not ever stop doing what you love. You'll enjoy it. Others may too. You might brighten the world a little bit. So don't wait. Create and never stop.
I wasn't planning on reading tonight, so I'm feeling under the weather. Not COVID, I'm just exhausted. But anyways, here's a tip out for you. Don't decide until the last minute, because I was able to enjoy all of the wonderful stuff I've heard tonight without being nervous at all when it was going to be my turn. So, just a tip. And also I should mention I don't do voices. This is a short fiction piece titled Smitten. The local newspaper got it wrong, which was unfortunate for Paul Paulson. He would have been devastated, disgusted that the media could take something so beautiful, so pure, and turn it into ugliness. Luckily, Paulson never had to read the story. He was dead. Oh, the media got a few things correct. Paulson was a 33-year-old bachelor who worked third shift at the cannery in Pickett. A co-worker was quoted as saying he was a quiet man, attractive but timid, unlucky with women. As much as it would have pained him, Paulson himself would have admitted it was true. Mrs. Kowalski, the aged widow who lived on the corner opposite Paulson, testified at the murder trial that he had puttered in his yard every day, before and after school. Always staring at those kids crossing at our corner. He was a pervert, she spat, hunched over the microphone. Another witness, Mrs. Dixon, told of that day her daughter arrived home from school, her pants dirty. There were partial fingerprints on her pants, in the area of her right thigh. Looked like it was ink or something, she testified. That's when I called for my husband. Mrs. Dixon's husband, James, was the person on trial. He claimed his daughter told him Mr. Paulson had touched her. In a fury, he stormed down the street. When he confronted Paulson in the front yard, he practically admitted it. What happened after that, James wasn't sure. Words were exchanged, his gun went off, he hadn't even remembered bringing it. In the judge's chambers, the Dixon girl calmly swung her legs under the overstuffed chair. She wasn't sure what the fuss was about. Had her daddy asked, she would have told him they got her pant leg stuck in the chain of her bicycle and she'd fallen on Mr. Paulson's lawn. He held her leg while he freed her pants. He had been kind about it and hadn't said much. He never did. Not even when she wildly waved high, taking both hands off the handlebars. It seemed no matter what she did, she just couldn't get his attention. He was smitten with the crossing guard.
So if anybody's interested, James Hamilton, author, at Facebook, Gmail, everywhere. You can't miss me. I'm the guy that doesn't own a comb. Right. Any jazz fans? People like jazz? So I wrote this, I wrote this like 4 years ago. A friend of mine died in 1991, was a jazz saxophone player in Milwaukee, Perry Moore. So I wrote this as kind of a tribute to jazz and to him. So, New York City, 52nd Street, circa 1948. Smoky bar rooms and clubs, all open late. 7 days a week, 9 o'clock at night. Outside, the image, a picturesquely painted sky. Ash-colored backdrop, sullen, murky flat tones, indistinctly opaque to its esoteric bones. Reflections shine from the hazy neon lights. Watercolors run in pink and blue ribbons cut through the murky onyx night. Drip as they melt away, fading out of sight. Inside, they play. Dark until the morning shows its light. These gods of night, they play. Devil-may-care vagabonds arrive, dressed, pressed to impress. Clean-shaven, polished shoes, dark suit, pinstripes, dark tie, still standing out from the rest. Removing segregation, pioneering integration. Black and white, the songs they wrote. White and black in the songs they played. Ladies and gentlemen, assembling on stage, in pocket, relaxed, playing notes inked on a page. Cool and slight like a breeze, they lean, they sway. Kick and snare triples and brush, some flair, spinning sticks in and hi-hat, hot tricks, women dancing, horns of gold, bass line steady yet crisply bold. Quintets, quashing, quintuplet, pentatonic notes, sweet sounding syncopation, augmented alliteration, polytonality brings 2 times the fascination. Cross rhythm crush, keys played with soul, the sum of them parts is always more than a whole. Open voicing, outer voice, blowing solos on the stroll. Halftime, ground beat, grooving, risky root chord riffs, funky bridges that don't bridge. Rhythm sections changing rhythm. Turnaround tetrachord. Manner crooked, straight A's, upper structure, voice leading vamp. Block chord, backbeat, contrapuntal 16th, smashing scaled waves against the shore of rock beneath. Inversion interlude, improvisation with no rules, boogie woogie bebop, cadence and rhythm that don't stop, flowing cool to flowing hot. Blistering pace but no race, resonating till the day breaks. The soundtrack of life continues to play in the background, and life itself goes on another day. The only original art form indigenous to America, where the groove was found. A life with jazz is a jazz life. Weave tight together, timeless music plays now, then, and forever.
I just want to conclude with a works in progress. Just to showcase that writing is always about history and recording it. Even like Joyce's, where it's science fiction, but still it's a way of looking at spring of 2022. These time travelers think not a bad time. It was after COVID, before the next calamity. So this is just a way I wanted to record one of the many poems or stories that my dad tells. He insists on it, and I actually love listening to his stories, and I want to capture that. So here's when youth rode horses. My grandpa bought my dad a half-blind mare. He took her up to the school to fetch his lunch pail. The mare got spooked and bolted, but she was going one place, home. When my dad was 12, Grandpa tasked him with taming the rambunctious Shetland pony that was refusing to listen to the younger kids. When he climbed on, the old girl beelined to the apple tree in the pasture. Dad ducked low, anticipating the low branch they were heading for. And that's why she veered to the lower branch on the other side, beamed my dad in the head. All right, well, thanks for the new moon. Thank you for coming. Great. Thank you.